Welcome back, folks. I'm Frizz, and today I'd like to take some time to talk about how progression actually works in Pathfinder 2e. That might sound silly, since progression is obviously just leveling up and getting new items, but on a larger scale, Pathfinder 2e actually approaches long-term progression differently than either Pathfinder 1st Edition or D&D 5th Edition. And that's really impactful. Long story short is that Pathfinder focuses more on horizontal progression rather than vertical progression in Pathfinder 2e. If you don't know what those terms mean, then that description isn't very helpful. Vertical progression is pretty straightforward. As a character progresses vertically, which is generally done through leveling up in a TTRPG, they get better at a couple of things. They're very specialized, For example, as you level up a martial character, they're going to improve in how they can hit stuff accurately and how they can hit stuff harder. Basically, progressing vertically makes you better at whatever you were already good at. Horizontal progression is different. As a character progresses horizontally, they get more methods of interaction rather than making any given tool stronger. As an example, if you're making a martial character and they progress horizontally, they're not going to hit harder as they progress. They're going to get new ways of hitting, which in some scenarios are better. Rather than just hitting harder overall, they get more strategies. Neither vertical or horizontal progression are superior to the other. Instead, finding a healthy balance between the two makes the best games, in my opinion. If you only focus on vertical progression, then things can get stale, but if you focus too much on horizontal progression, then you can do a lot of stuff, but you're not going to be doing any of it actually any well, and people like doing stuff well. Pathfinder 1e focused more on vertical progression. As you got class features and feats as you leveled up, you got better at your thing, until eventually at high levels, you were pretty much unparalleled in regards to your one thing. At the same time, as you leveled up, you didn't really get better at anything else unless that's something that you were in particular aiming for. Like, your skills aren't going to be really, really good unless you're actually dedicating parts of your build to getting specifically better at skills. Basically, Pathfinder 1e heavily rewards making specialized characters who do just particular things very, very well. Pathfinder 2e focuses dramatically more on horizontal progression by comparison. Rather than feats giving numerical bonuses to specific actions, they tend to instead give new ways of interacting with the world, especially in combat. Power attack isn't a simple boost to damage anymore that's always good to use. Instead, it's a more situational ability that is really, really useful in the right circumstances, but you still have to decide that you're in that circumstance. The reach meta magic isn't a pretty niche way to get your spells some additional range if you plan ahead of time anymore. Instead, it's a way for spellcasters to get some additional range whenever they need it, but it is an additional tool that they can use, not like just a different way of playing. There are differences within 2e as a system, though, in regards to how you progress. Not everyone progresses in the same way. The most obvious of this, to me, is the difference between martial characters and spellcasters. Martial characters tend to progress a bit more vertically, while spellcasters progress mostly horizontally. Basically, martials tend to have more abilities that just straight up make attacks do more damage, when in comparison, spellcasters don't really have those feats for their spells. Instead, they just get a huge quantity or different types of spells or different ways of using spells. Basically, it's horizontal progression instead of vertical. This can lead to martial characters feeling stronger whenever they can use their strengths that they're specialized in when compared to spellcasters. This happens quite a lot, since Pathfinder 2e tends to have a lot of scenarios that can be resolved using just sheer damage output, and when you look at that, basically every martial class focuses on damage output. But it's important to recognize that there are different forms of progression in 2e, like I just talked about between martials and spellcasters, especially if you're a GM. If you're only ever putting obstacles in front of your party that can be resolved by the resident fighter power attacking them into oblivion, then of course the spell substitution wizard in the party isn't going to feel as cool. giving a fighter a basic combat to solve with extreme levels of violence lets them be cool. And it doesn't quite do the same for spellcasters. Especially as you get higher levels, giving a wide variety of challenges that reward players and classes that focus on horizontal progression rather than vertical is really, really good. If everything can be solved with just brute force and a stick, then why wouldn't you just use brute force and a stick? Giving a variety of different types of obstacles that really reward someone to have a wide variety of spells is good. Also, for the record, alchemists also mainly focus on horizontal progression and are lumped in with spellcasters for the purposes of this video. There's a lot to love about Pathfinder 2e's progression, and I didn't nearly cover everything that I like about it. Like, skills allow for every single PC to choose if they want to specialize in a given skill set, or if they want to be a jack of all trades. Being specialized is probably a little bit better for combat, but having a wide variety of different skills available out of combat is really good. But the point is that Pathfinder 2e's progression is great. Though, to appreciate it to its fullest, you have to focus on how each PC is actually improving, and then giving them obstacles that are based around how they are improving. Thanks for watching. Progression is a bit of a weird topic, since basically every PC ever made in 2e progresses in their own way and has different tools and all that, because there's a stupid amount of potential PC builds. But it's still fun to talk about. What do you think about horizontal progression and vertical progression? And do you have any constructive criticism? Let me know in a comment down below, and while you're down there, please consider subscribing and joining the channel. My members' support means a lot to me, both financially and emotionally. Regardless, until I see you next, live a wonderful life.